Undisputed. We are looking ahead to the NBA Finals. How important is this series for Steph Curry's legacy? Should the Lakers trade away Lonzo Ball this summer? We've got more there. Plus, actor Jaleel White is in studio with us. Undisputed coming up next. Jenna, back to you. All right, Jenny, thank you. Time for us to go viral. Kawhi Leonard has been stellar the entire postseason, with some fans comparing his clutchness to Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. However, not everyone is ready for those comps, with Meta World Peace tweeting, "It's amazing to me how people can try to discredit Kobe. He is the most clutch player ever, maybe second to MJ. Stats are for people who can't play to justify their theory. Basketball is a feel. Kobe is clutch." Nick is laughing. What do you think?
I don't understand why we do this with Kobe. Why we take one of the 10 greatest players ever, one of the greatest competitors ever, one of the greatest Lakers ever, and then add something to his resume that doesn't exist. Meta can say stats for people who couldn't play. I didn't play very well, and I'm going to throw some stats, so maybe I'll just confirm his own theory. Playoffs, less than 10 seconds left to tie or win. Michael, the guy who's considered the most clutch player ever, 7 of 15. LeBron, the guy who's actually the most clutch ever, 12 of 23. Kobe is 5 of 22 in those spots. He has all these great things about him. Why do we lie about him? Why do we create this, oh, Kobe is 5 seconds left, who do you want to have the ball? Not him. Maybe the guy next to him, maybe number 15 who bailed him out of the game 7 again when he was 6 of 24, but I don't need to say all that. That was probably unnecessary. I just don't know why we got to do this with Kobe. It's like, do people say with Michael Jordan? And the best thing about Michael Jordan, he was 6'10". Did you know that? No, because you don't need to lie about his leg. I don't get it. I don't get it, Meta. Sorry.
Can you imagine if I asked him about Drake?
Yeah, Nick, sometimes when you are there, when they're making the Kool-Aid, you get a taste to sample it, and it just stays with you. So, Meta World Peace, typically when you play with the guys in, that's the Kool-Aid thing. You're there, you're watching them mix it up. So, I'm a huge Kobe fan. But Clutch...
You just translated the Kool-Aid to me?
Clutch is... Let's just hold it.
He was willing to always take the shots.
Yes.
Wouldn't typically make them. 5 of
22.
That ain't great. 23%.
Back to the NBA Finals.
I guess folks who can't play.
We had already assumed it, but Kevin Durant has now been officially ruled out for the Finals opener as he continues to rehab his calf injury. He might not even make the trip to Toronto. So, Nick, how close will this series be if Durant is unable to play?
I think the Warriors are favorites either way, but the way they would have to win is very, very different. If Durant's unable to play, we know the style they've got to play. Motion, 10, 11 guys playing, particularly early in the series. Everyone getting shots up, with Steph Curry and Draymond Green, and that pick and roll being the secret sauce to them, along with playing at a pace that can wear out Toronto. If Kevin Durant is able to play, then this series becomes much more typical as far as how NBA Finals go, which is whose best player can be better? KD or Kawhi Leonard. Who's going to win that one-on-one matchup? Because if KD plays, there will be a lot of KD guarding Kawhi, Kawhi guarding KD, a lot of ISO ball, especially on the Warriors' end. So in an odd way, I actually think while Kawhi's job gets demonstrably more difficult if and when Kevin Durant comes to this series, the other Raptors' job gets harder if Kevin Durant isn't playing. Kyle Lowry, if Kevin Durant's not out there, is going to be chasing Steph Curry around screen after screen after screen. Danny Green's going to be doing the same thing with Klay Thompson. Pascal Siakam's going to have to pick up Draymond Green once he's at three-quarter court, because he's going to be trying to run a semi-break or a fast break. So these are two different teams. The Warriors with Durant and without Durant, they have proven they can beat you either way.
Absolutely, they can beat you either way. But I just think this. Kevin Durant, when he got hurt, game number 5, I said that I'd be shocked if he played any more basketball. Not only for Golden State, but for the rest of the regular season. I think that with him not traveling with the team, being ruled out of game number 1, I think it's far more reality that he's not going to play any in this series. So we should start to look at, even if he comes back, he's not going to be Kevin Durant that started game number 5 against Houston. He's not. He's going to be ailing a little bit. He still won't be 100%. So I don't believe he's going to play the whole series. All right, so I'm going to analyze this as if he's not going to be there. And I believe it is an opportunity, because if he is there, I believe it goes a lot like the last two Cleveland series, a 4-1, 4-0, 4-2, 4-2 at the best. Now, without him, I believe the Raptors really have a shot to be able to win. Draymond Green becomes more of a playmaker, and I believe that what they faced against Giannis will give them the ability that now they don't have to adjust after 2 games as a locomotive on the fast break, having a power forward or a guy that's going to dribble and initiate the offense. What they face with Giannis, Giannis is the best at it. Draymond Green, what he has done since Kevin Durant has been real special.
And one note, the day we were on TV after that KD suffered that calf strain, it felt to me like this is what happened. The basketball world watched KD suffer that injury. Most people who haven't played sports at a professional level or at a high collegiate level, we just trust the game commentators who have played as far as what type of injury does that look like, right? Reggie Miller on the broadcast, he gambled and he was wrong. He basically assigned Kevin Durant a popped Achilles.
And some other people at that network had said that they
absolutely. In the moment, it felt like the general public was like, oh my God, Kevin Durant blew his Achilles. And then the moment we found out it wasn't a blown Achilles, I think the general public overreacted in the other direction. If it's not a blown Achilles, oh, it's just calf strain. Could he be back for the next game? Is he going to be clearly back for the Western Conference Finals? You, having suffered multiple calf strains in your career, said this is an injury that Kevin Durant suffered before. This is the way he walked off the court and didn't come back to the bench. Worried you that it was more significant than the earlier ones, and that it was on the board from that moment that the Warriors would not have him again this year. I think while they've kept it close to the vest, as far as they just keep basically saying reevaluate in a week, reevaluate in a week, not taking the team flight, the Warriors must have known, I believe, within the team, it was on the board he was not going to return. And I do think for them, there was not a freedom from that, but a very interesting opportunity from that. Because we always talk about the Warriors championships since KD got there, about do they count as full championships for Kevin Durant? Or is there an asterisk on his championships? But what about for Draymond? What about for Clay? What about for Iggy? The opportunity for those guys to button up this 5-year run with 1 championship on the front end without KD, and then 1 championship on the back end without Kevin Durant. Because what is very clear is this team plays a more joyful style of basketball and seems to be playing a more free style of basketball when KD's not out there. Even if you don't want to believe, even if you don't believe, it's a more effective style of basketball.
How does Boogie Cousins factor into all this? Because there's a good chance he will be back. He's already practicing with the team, probably before Kevin Durant comes back.
What I would be concerned about Boogie Cousins on the offensive end is the pick and pop. If they run a high pick and roll, then he pops. I'm not concerned with the quad injury, him being more athletic. He's not a high riser. He's a guy that plays beneath the rim anyway. He relies on his skill set. So I don't expect him to post up a bunch, which is a big grind for a big man. But I look for him when they put him back into the game, because I know he's coming back before KD is, and they'll probably bring him back. He'll play 10 to 20 minutes. But the pick and pop, because that's one of the first things you can do in coming back to the court. What can you do? Get on the court and hit you a little set shot. So he can set a pick for one of those guards, pop out to the 3-point line, and I believe he'll be effective in doing that. He'll be a liability on the defensive end, even when he's healthy.
Especially now that Marc Gasol has shown he's a competent 3-point shooter. Draw Boogie away from the basket. The Boogie thing is interesting because he played 32 games with the Warriors. He played at least 20 minutes in 28 of those 32 games. He has started every game he's ever played with the Warriors, and I believe he started every game of his NBA career. When Steve Kerr was asked about Boogie and talked about his health, prior to this injury, whenever he was asked about him coming back from the Achilles, he was very adamant. He's our starting center. He's going to be a key part. Now, with them 4 games from a championship, when Kerr was asked about him yesterday, he couched his comments a little bit differently.
Yes.
And
is he actually better right now than Kevon Looney in the way he's playing, his athleticism, his energy, offensive rebound, all those things?
And most importantly, even if he is better than Kevon Looney, are the Warriors better with Boogie out there? And would Boogie be okay with, hey, listen, here's the deal. You're our super 6th man. Yeah. You're gonna clean things up at the end of the first quarter, beginning of the second quarter, into the third, beginning of the fourth. That's a role Boogie has never experienced at any point in his basketball life. Be asking a lot, a guy who looked like he tore his quad off the bone at the time it happened, and now would be coming back from injury in the biggest games he's ever played in a role he's never had. That could be an interesting juggling act for Steve Kerr on and off the court.
All right, so KD sidelined to start the series. Now the pressure is on Steph Curry, right? Steph's resume, pretty tight. 3-time champion, 2-time regular season MVP. But what he doesn't have is a finals MVP. Steph opens the series as the odds-on favorite to win it, though. Nick, what would a finals MVP do for Steph's legacy?
It'd be the final piece. It's the only thing he's missing. He already has a title that some of our Pantheon Mount Rushmore guys don't have, which is a specific skill set that he is universally regarded as the greatest ever at. Take Michael Jordan, the guy most people think is the greatest player ever. I don't know that there is one basketball skill that everyone says Jordan was the best shooter, best rebounder. Okay, no, but people say best all-around player, whatever it is. Steph, everyone knows he's the greatest shooter ever. I think everyone at this point acknowledges he's one of the 3 or 4 greatest ball handlers ever. If they win the title, he'll have 4 rings. That would mean he has more rings in LeBron's era than LeBron does. He already was the first and up to this point only unanimous MVP, or the first unanimous MVP in NBA history. So he's got all these things. The only thing he's missing, and the only way you can puncture his resume at all, is the lack of a finals MVP, and which is why I choose to look at it as, if he gets it, what it means for him, where he can go in the all-time pantheon. The flip side is, see, as you've been talking about, if they win and he doesn't get it,
yeah,
people are going to wonder, wait, what? And this time Durant wasn't even there to take it from you, and the conversation that would happen under those circumstances.
Yes, and being to 5 finals. Well, explain this to me. Yeah, I know you have 4 championships in the LeBron era where LeBron has 3 and he's not done counting. But what about the MVP? What about the finals? Because it is just like the regular season MVP. There's a certain status to that. There's a certain status to being a champion. But to me, all these are they're like trophies. So to me, how many trophies do they have? Well, Michael Jordan, Defensive Player of the Year. I believe that's a trophy. How many times you make All NBA? Those are trophies. First team. All-Star games. Those are trophies. In this postseason, it's the only thing that Steph Curry, this is the way to change the narrative, and I just believe there's more pressure on him in this one without KD than in the other previous 4. So I expect Steph to play special. And I expect him and Clay to be a handful for the Toronto Raptors.
And there's no injury excuse. I understand Steph has dislocated finger. 36, 8, and 7 the last 5 games without Kevin Durant. Steph is in the best position he could be in to add this final piece to his legacy. And all he's got to, because I think ties will go to Steph. I think if it's close and the Warriors win, but it's, Clay was great as well, the voters would rather give it to Steph because he's come close so many times. Here's what he has to avoid. In 2015, when they won the title, Game 2, he's 5 of 23. 2 years ago, when they won the title, Game 4, he's 4 of 13. Last year, when they won the title, Game 3, he's 3 of 16. When I say Steph Curry has a 5-year track record of not playing to his averages in the postseason, his postseason averages are only a tick beneath his regular season averages.
But he has one big dud.
But he is more likely than any of our other all-timers to throw up that 3 for 16 or the 5 for 23. And now you can argue he makes up for it in the other games, but even this postseason, his overall averages this postseason have been great. He's had a couple of those games where you're like, wait, what happened to Steph? He has to avoid that in these finals.
And in Toronto's always will be a special place for the Curry family. Dale Curry, his dad, played there for the Raptors. Played there when my brother Butch was the coach. So Steph has fond memories of Canada. Man, he wants this to be his fondest because it's important that he gets off to a great start in games 1 and 2, those first 2 games in Toronto, to avoid having one of those dud games that you mentioned. And also, when can they snatch away the home court? The sooner they can snatch away the home court, the sooner you can start to have real conversations about this. But a lot of times in sports, I keep telling you, Jenna, the exact thing you think is going to happen, the opposite thing typically happens. So this is not a shoe-in. And if Golden State and Steph start thinking about, man, I get that elusive MVP, KD's not here, watch out. Just like LeBron got taken down by the Dallas Mavericks, that came from nowhere. That's what these Toronto Raptors, with the type of momentum they created, and they have home court.
LeBron, Michael, Magic, Kareem, Russell, Wilt, Duncan, Shaq, Kobe, Bird, Moses, Oscar, Jerry West, Hakeem Olajuwon. Those are the pretty universally accepted 14 greatest players ever. All of them have a Finals MVP except for Oscar and Russell, who predate the award. If we go to guys of this era, Durant, Dwayne Wade, Dirk Nowitzki, they all have a Finals MVP. Steph doesn't. He gets one. You can't keep him out of the top 20 all time, no matter how much you want to. If he doesn't, people will poke at it.
We got